Hi, I'm Chris Skinner, and I'm here with David Bannister, who's the editor of Banking Technology magazine. Morning, David.
Good morning, Chris.
Looking at the technology landscape, and in the last 6 months, everyone's been saying, oh, it's all doom and gloom. Have banks stopped investing in technology, or do you think the markets are still as buoyant as they were?
I don't think banks can afford to stop investing in technology. There's obviously been a slight hiatus as they made decisions and assigned priorities to what they're spending it on. But if a bank stops spending on technology, it's not going to be a bank for very long, is it? It's what everything runs on. So there's been some reassignments and there's been some hard thinking, but it's ongoing. And the decisions that are being made now will start playing out in about a year's time or so.
And if you're looking at the top areas of technology discussion or focus, what's the vogue this year? I mean, what's top of the agenda?
The top of the agenda is classically getting more for less, really, or doing more with the same amount of investment. In the core systems area, there's a lot of building out into other services, into direct banking, and internet channels being fully integrated. So a lot of the mobile payments is a huge one this year. That's my particular favourite, and I know you've written a lot on that as well. I think that the whole change in the payments landscape that is driven by regulation is also combining with the stuff that's going on in the technology front from mobiles, and that's not necessarily in the bank's control, which is going to be quite an interesting thing in the way it plays out.
And if you looked at the mobile finance and payment space and the infrastructure space, particularly looking at the regulatory landscape of SEPA, the Payment Services Directive, which are always top of my mind, are those the areas that are the main things that you discuss in payments areas?
In the payments area, yeah, obviously, and the recent decisions on the actual dates and deadlines has really focused the minds. Much being hanged in the morning does. And I think that now that people have got a deadline for SEPA direct debit, we're really starting to move on that. And that's prompted a bit of a shift, because it is fundamentally different technically from credit transfer, in that there is much less clarity on how you do it. There's more variables. And that's led to a number of partnerships between banks and technology companies. At the show here, we've seen Deutsche and Logica, for instance. And that will change everything as people start to adopt those kind of technologies. What we'll then see is the new payment service providers coming in on the back of PSD, and that's going to be a whole set of unknowns. And there's a really interesting thing there, because a lot of those people are going to be coming from the mobile world, the telcos, so where they've already got quite efficient payment mechanisms and a rather large audience that they can tap into, or customers that banks might call them.
So if you're looking at the next 3 years, let's say, what do you think will be the main areas that will change in the financial landscape, and in particular in technology?
Well, there are two things really. One, we've got to get over the fallout from the whole banking crisis, and so there's going to be some aftershocks from that still. And then we'll get back onto the way that banks relate to each other and the consolidation that was already going on. There was a kind of ground shift with that, and then nobody's going to buy another bank right now until they've worked out exactly what the state of their finances are. So we'll see some more of that picking up again, and then we'll see probably some people moving out of different areas. But in terms of the technology, the interesting thing is going to be how non-bank players come in and provide basic services, as they have in areas like credit cards in the past. So I think we'll see a lot more of that.
In conclusion, I guess this is a payment summit that takes place every year, and this year we're very much focused on the deadlines for November with SEPA and the Payment Services Directive. What do you think we'll be talking about next year?
We'll be talking about how we missed the deadlines. That's what we always talk about. That's it, really. I hope, actually, being serious, and I said this before, I think I said this 2 years ago at the summit, we should be talking about the international aspect rather than just the European aspect. And I think that with Natcher in the US, there is some moves between the US and the European countries. With Cybos happening in the Far East this year, in Hong Kong, we might even see some actual global talk. And I think because of the non-bank networks, we will see that. The telcos are global already. So we could get some movement there at last.
David Bannister, thank you very much.
Chris, no problem.